As many of you asked me to do a video about drafting patterns, how to scale, size and alternate them, and as it so happens that I just found a little bit of motivation collecting dust in a corner somewhere as all costume events have been cancelled for the foreseeable future, I thought, why not combine it with a costume build? Today I will take you along in drafting a skirt pattern for a new 1890s walking costume after an original piece from the Met Museum's collection. So today I'm going to enlarge this pattern, which is from this book, Authentic Victorian Fashion Patterns. And I personally find this a very pleasant way to enlarge patterns. And what I usually do is I just enlarge it the way it is in the book and then I adjust it to my size. Do know that this book uses inches. Personally, I usually always use centimeters, but obviously we can do that. So I have my inch tape measure, I have an inch ruler. I do have a big one like this that I use for the big lines, but this one's in centimeters. So just so you know that I'll be using this not to measure, but just to draw straight lines. Now the basic of this pattern is that you always start in the upper right corner. So the numbers that you see along the lines is all measured from that corner on. So here it says 1/4 of an inch, and that's that first line. The second one is 5/8 of an inch, that's the second line. Then you go 5 inches from that corner, that's that line, 8, etc., etc. Once you have drawn that line and marked those marks, you're going to put lines that are square to that line. And then you go 8 and 5/8 inches to the left, and that's where that point is. Same here. And then basically it's connect the dots. I find this a very easy way of enlarging patterns instead of using a grid. So that's what we're going to do today. I'll just be showing you one, and then I'll do the other 3 off camera, and then I'll show you how I adjust this pattern to my size and make any modifications that I want to. So I start by making my corner point, which is just going to be here. I'm going to use the side of the paper as my straight line here, as I know that I don't have to add any seam allowance here, as this is going to be cut on the fold. So this is going to be my starting point. Alright, so the first one is 1/4 of an inch. That's 1/4 of an inch. Then we go 5/8 of an inch. Okay, so that's 5 of an inch. Right, next one is 5 inches. 8. And then 74. Okay, so then we're going to square those lines. So we have our 0 point, 1.4, our 0 point, or 1/4 of an inch, and 5/8 of an inch. Then there's a slight line going up to that 1/4 inch line that says 2 and 3/4 inch. So that means we're going from our 5/8 of an inch point, and we're going to go 2 3/4 up to that line. There you go. Then you have the 5-inch line. Let's square that one out. And that's 4 inches out. So we mark 4 inches. And then we connect those 2 lines. And that's going to be our dart. There you go. The next one to our left is 7.1/4 of an inch. And that's here. And that is 4.5 inch also to that line. Alright, this is the 8 inch. And that is 8 5/8 of an inch. Alright, now we have a slight curve here, as you can see. I'm going to draw the bottom first so we can connect these two, and then we can make this nice curvature. Alright, so we have our 2 points, which is 47 inch and 47.5 inch. And I'm going to square out 47 inch. Right. And then it says 12 3/4. 12 3/4. There you go. And then square out the other line. And that goes parallel for 6 1/4 of an inch up to there, and then it curves to that point. Right. There you go. Then we're going to connect this point and this point, and then curve that line, and then we have our first pattern. Now, drawing a long line like this straight is sometimes a little bit of a trick, so I use 2 rulers that I parallel with each other. There you go. To give a nice curve. There you go. And that is our first pattern. So I'm going to draw the other 3, and then I'm going to show you how I modify these. Now, to alter this pattern to my size, first we have to measure the pattern pieces, excluding seam allowances. Now, if I add those together, that comes to a total of 51.95 centimeters. Now, if I take my actual waist and add 1 centimeter of ease, that comes to 73 centimeters. Now, divided by 2 to get a half waist measurement is 36.5 centimeters. Now, if I subtract the 36.5 from the 51.95, that comes to 15.45. And that is how much half of the skirt is too big. Now, we have to divide that over the 4 pattern pieces that we have. So if we take the 15.45 and divide it by the 4 pattern pieces we have, we come to 3.8 centimeters that we have to take in each pattern piece. Now that we have calculated how much we need to take in per panel, I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. Now, for example, I have here the side core front panel, which has a dart in it. You could say I enlarge the dart and to accommodate the 3.8 centimeters, but that would mean you would have to elongate the dart to accommodate that extra space, and that would just look really weird and funky, especially as this is one of the front panels. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to divide the 3.8 in two, and I'm going to take that away here, and I'm going to take that away here. Now, you always want to have like an anchor point to make sure these pinch together well. If you have like a bodice pattern or whatever, you can use the grain line as your folding line or cut line. So these patterns are drawn with already 1/2 inch of seam allowance incorporated. So I've marked 1/2 inch from my seam allowance here. So that would be the actual width of my waist, or the waist of the pattern in this case. Now, because we are going to split the amount in two, I want to have it like in the dead center of these two pieces. So we're going to measure. So this is 5.7 minus 1.9 is 3.8. Now, if you divide that by 2, is 1.9 again. So if I go 1.9 from this side, then again 1.9, and that should leave me 1.9. Yep. All right. So this is what we're going to take out. You just draw a line. There you go. And then you can fold that away. And then you can redraw this line, which we're going to do in a second. Let's do the other side first. So this is 6.5 minus 1.9 is 6.5. 4.6 divided by 2 is 2.3. That should be 1.9. There you go. All right. So I'm going to extend that all the way down, and I'm going to cut it out, and I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to show you how to redraw the waistline. So I have folded away the excess width, as you can see. I'm going to tape that down in a second, but I just wanted to show you what happens to my waistline. As you can see, this is, you won't see it a lot here, but it doesn't match up, obviously, and that's because we went down on the grain. Now what we can do, now this is an easy one because this is just a straight line, or a diagonal line I should say. It's just a question of reconnecting the corners here, and you have a new line. Same here. Now if you have a curved line, it's going to be a little bit more trickier. It's just you need to see where the line naturally wants to go. Now the same, I'll do the same with the bottom of the hem, of course. Now for the back panel, we're going to do things a little bit different. So obviously we don't have a dart here, so we can just take it off from the side, as long as we keep that waistline curve right. Obviously this is where that waistline went to, so we need to move that here and make the new line go there. So we want to make a start out with a straight, there you go. So that is our new waistline. So let me erase the old one, just so we don't get confused. All right. So I will do the same with the hemline, but I want to continue first here is because in the original dress, she has actually a pleated part here. So this pattern is smooth, but I want to create pleats there. So I estimated this would be around 12 centimeters wide, and I counted about 6 pleats, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to do that, and 12 centimeters, 6 pleats is 2 centimeters per pleat. So what you can do is you can draw where you want your pleats, cut it open, fan it out, and copy paste whatever. I usually hate doing that because I think it's a waste of material. So I'm going to do that, but drawing wise, if that makes sense. So this is what that looks like when it's drawn and not cut. It might be a little bit hard to see the lines, but this is the hem. So these are my 0 ankle points, and they go up all the way here, which is my waist. So this is my skirt, this is the pleat, this is the pleat facing, pleat, pleat facing, pleat facing. Now I did have to have, I came a little bit short, so I did have to copy paste a little bit here. But the last thing we're going to do is we're going to adjust the length of the skirt, because this skirt is also too long for me. What I'm going to do is I have a walking skirt. So I measured that, and the longest point of that skirt, which comes all the way to the ground, is 109 centimeters. So I'm going to use that for the length of this skirt, and in front it should be a little bit shorter, but I can adjust that when I'm fitting. I'm gonna do about 10 centimeters hem. So in total, the skirt should be about 119 long. So let's see. This one is 124 and a half. I want it to be 119. So that's 5.5 difference. Let's see what it is here. This is also 124 and a half. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take out 5.5 centimeters in the middle of my pattern. I'm going to fold it shut. And the only thing that you have to do is redraw your side seam, or in this case the center back. So here are the finished pattern pieces. They are all checked and shortened and everything. Make sure you also mark where your straight of grain line is. In this case, I have done going from the center front, which is this panel. This is the fabric fold. So that would be straight on grain, and which means that this line would be on the bias. So the one that joins that is going to be straight on grain on the bias, etc., etc. So you always join a straight of grain and a bias panel together so that the seam won't stretch over time. Also, don't forget to label your pattern pieces. If I'm drawing from a book, I always write down what the name of the pattern is, what page the pattern is on, of what book, obviously what the pattern is, it's the front skirt panel, whatever, and I always write a date. So in this case it's January 2021. So I always have that sort of as a reference whenever I come back to this pattern and reuse it for something else. This was a pretty easy pattern because it's a skirt and there's not much curves and stuff going on. So here I have a bodice pattern, which I have used the same technique, but as a bodice has so much more curvature and is much more sensitive to things getting out of whack, I think. So I divided the amount that it needed to be taken out, because this one got enlarged actually instead of smaller with what I did with the skirt. So I divided the amount that it had to be enlarged, and divided that over multiple places. Especially when you're working with a curvature, you want the place where you're enlarging it or fanning it out, you want that to be on multiple places, so you can have that a neater curve going on. So as you can see here, I have, wherever it got taken out, you can see I have corrected a new line. And same with the dart. I've done one straight in the middle of the dart, so that also gets graded in. So basically, yeah, you can do this technique with any pattern you want. Just make sure it stays in balance, and whatever you do on one side, do it on the other side as well. But yeah, this works for enlarging or for taking in.